So do you need to promote your business, but you just think that you're not engaging enough, not interesting enough? Hi, I'm Kim from Kim Taylor Ultimate Speaker, bringing you another strategy, in fact, a 7-step strategy to be able to help you do this, to help you improve your ability to communicate wherever you need to communicate. Now, often I'm asked, how do I do that? I know I need to get out and promote my business, but how do I reach my audience? Am I interesting enough? How do I engage them? So I'm going to give you today 7 steps on how to do this really, really easily. Because, essentially 95% of the speaking engagements require you to be engaging. They require you to be interesting, because often we've got people in the audience that have been told to be there. And the more that we can draw them in, the more it's going to be a better experience for you as well as them. And who knows where it could go from there. All of a sudden they realize the gold that you have to share and they want to know more. And the thing is that when we can get out there, it's about having a practiced, well-polished presentation, yes, and feeling like you're comfortable and practiced in delivering it. But when we can incorporate the engagement and the interest for our audience, it's a recipe for success. And the thing is, it's about creating that connection with your audience, really connecting with them, even though they're in a group, connecting with them one-on-one, individually, speaking to their hearts, speaking to their minds, and bringing them on a journey. So let's deep dive into it right now and give you those 7 steps for creating better engagement, more engagement with your audience. The first one is varying your tone and your tempo. Now, how often have you been to a presentation and you've heard someone speak in the same monotone and it comes out and there's no variety in their voice and it's really boring? Who's ever experienced that? I think we all have, haven't we? And when you can vary the tone, because essentially people are tuning out every 5 to 7 seconds. So the more we can keep them engaged, the more the brain is going like 100 million miles an hour. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but it's like it's going so fast. So this is why it tunes out, because it gets bored. And the reason why vocal variety and changing that pace helps them to stay engaged. So that's what I'm going to encourage you to do, is vary it up. Now, the second one is the power of the pause. So pauses. Again, how often do you hear someone go blah, 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 with all of this amazing content that they're sharing, and you don't have any time whatsoever to be able to take in the information that they're sharing? So there's no time to process because they're on to the next content piece. Have you ever experienced that? I know I have, and it's really hard. It's almost like, hang on, I'm just trying to figure out how I can apply this. I'm just going to think about how this applies to me. And already they've moved on to the next piece. It's so essential. This is the gift that we can give our audience, is by the pause, just giving them time to take it in. It's like when I asked you at the very beginning, do you know you need to promote your business, but you think, you're not engaging enough, you're not interesting enough. And then I paused, gave you a moment to think, well, actually, that does apply to me. I'm going to listen on. So this is the power of the pause. You not only give them time to take in what you're saying and to hear that, but you'll also keep the engagement because you're varying it. You're also, in fact, this is the thing, when you are pausing, you actually sound like you know what you're talking about. You're so comfortable within your own skin and you're confident that people are feeling that confidence because you're happy just to go at the pace that you need to for your audience. And that's the key. It's for your audience. You're reading your audience as far as what they need. So if you're noticing, actually, let's just pause for a moment on that. If you're noticing that your audience is like getting fidgeting or they're fiddling, then maybe you want to pick up the pace and get into some more content pieces. Just limit the pauses, still put them in, but just minimize it a bit. So it's really about reading your audience. That's really another step. So there's probably 8 steps to this engagement. Okay, so the next thing is aligning your voice to your message. Now, this is very, very key because tone of our voice is like 38% of our communication. So if we've got a content piece that we're sharing, or we're sharing a story, we need to make sure that our tone aligns with the message that we are delivering. If we're wanting our audience to feel the enthusiasm and to feel a bit of fun and a bit of joy, then our tone has got to come through with that fun and that joy. And if we want them to feel like relaxed, like if you're taking someone through a meditation or a visualization, then you might want to slow down that tone so it's a softer tone. You're slowing down the pace, you're slowing down the tone. And then people are going to feel like, that's with that message, I'm feeling that connection more. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a misalignment. Something's going to be out. It's not going to feel congruent. And the more congruent it feels, the more authentic you will come across, and the more authentic they will feel you are. Your audience will feel that you are. So the next thing is the emphasis on the words. That's number 4. Now, the emphasis on the words is around, again, it's bringing in some vocal variety. So it might be an idea that you have. It might be a statistic that you're introducing. It might be a wake up bold statement that goes, hey, I want to get your attention. So as an example, you want to put the emphasis on certain words to bring through that particular point. So for example, I might say to you, okay, did you know that 90% of your fears can be eliminated just through practice and rehearsal of your talks? 90%. Okay, so you hear the emphasis? So think about the points that you want to make and bring through some emphasis on specific words where you want people to hear specific things. Okay, next one is aligning your tone again, but this time it's with your facial expressions, okay? Your body language. Now, tonality I mentioned earlier is 38%. Well, body language is actually 55% of our communication. So when you think about it, tonality and body language are pretty up there as far as, wow, we need to tick the boxes on this, otherwise people aren't going to be engaged. That's 93% on an unconscious level. So what we want to do is align the tone with our facial expressions. Now again, think about if you're sharing a story, a devastating story, your own personal story perhaps, and people love stories. If you've shared something that has been a catastrophe in your life and you've got a smile on your face as you do that, there's going to be a misalignment, isn't there? So consider how can you match up your facial expressions, your body language to meet that tone in your voice, to meet the message that you're delivering. Okay? Number 6, I think we're up to, is make eye contact. 65% of the population are visual. That's one of the 9 learning styles. And that's why we need to actually maintain that contact. Because as we mentioned earlier, that contact, we make that real connection with people when people feel like they're being spoken to. What do I mean by that? Well, Craig Valentine has a wonderful expression where he says, you speak to one, you speak to all. So what essentially you're doing is you speak to one as you're sharing the piece of information you're saying, and you hold that eye contact. And then as you finish the sentence, then you move to another part of the audience and you speak to them. But because you're speaking to one person and holding their eye contact, the whole audience actually feels like they're part of this. Isn't that amazing? And it absolutely works. The thing is, have you noticed someone whose eyes might sort of dart all over the place and they're not holding it for any particular period of time? There's no real connection, is there? So that's why this works so beautifully. So eye contact, number 6. Number 7 is the lucky last, is lower your voice. Now, when you lower your voice, you come across with more command. Now, nothing against us girls, but we tend to have a higher voice. And a higher voice is a little harder to listen to. So what happens is when we can lower our voice and have a little bit more command in it, people find it easier to listen. So for example, now what I mean by lowering and command is it's about lowering your voice at the end of your sentences, lowering your voice at the end of your questions. So for example, if you've got, let's think of an example. If I'd said to you at the very, very beginning, so do you need to promote your businesses? Do you find it hard to get engaging? I'm going up at the end. Of course, I'm putting a bit of emphasis on that to sort of to put the point forward to you. But look at the difference. Listen to the difference. So it's like I could say, do you need to promote your business? Do you want to come across more engaging, more interesting? Do you hear the lower at the end? And I'm asking you questions. Which way sounds more certain? Which way sounds more confident listening to me? And which way gives you more confidence in me, in the ability and the information that I'm sharing? Yeah. So hopefully you said the part going lower, because that is absolutely correct. We need to remember to lower our voice, otherwise people will tend to go, I'm not so sure she knows what she's talking about, or I wonder if there's more to this, I'm not certain. You want to give more certainty. Your certainty needs to outweigh their doubt, by the way. And one of the ways to do that is to lower your voice and come through with that greater command. Okay, so you've got 7 steps. We've got vocal variety, we've got the power of the pause, aligning your tone with your message, emphasis on words, aligning your tone with your facial expressions, your body language, coming through with that lower and command, and of course, the one about keeping eye contact, very, very important. So with practice, this does become really natural. It becomes a very authentic thing to do. And the more you do it, wow, just look at the results. You will really notice how your audience is responding. And keep in mind, this is for your one-on-one conversations as well as your group audiences. This isn't just, groups of people. This is both one-on-one as well. So if you've loved what you've heard today, and if you're experiencing a challenge around this, or you'd like to know more, why not private message me? And I will absolutely do my best to help you and give you a helping hand on that. So remember, keep practicing, practice the 5 steps, and remember also to keep speaking from your heart and sharing your message. And we'll see you in the next training.